This video is on social spaces and how social spaces are so important, more than we think, and yet they barely exist in America. I've been around enough to where the only social spaces I know in America is church, if you go to church, which is good, no complaints. Or, like on TV, they show you what are the social spaces, the bar or the club. That's it. Or someone's backyard party or something like that. But that requires arrangement and planning. But to have natural social spaces like they do in Europe and Asia and other parts of the world, that they normally have that, we just don't have it much in America. Maybe in New York, maybe. But, maybe in Canada a little bit more. But in America, not really. Not really. Social spaces are very important because what is everybody's typical thing they do every day? They get up or go to school or go to work. They drive in their car. When they're a kid, they ride in the bus, so they have some more opportunity to socialize. But as an adult, you get into your metal box, which is the car, you take it to work, and then you're there around 20 or 30 people, your co-workers, or more. There's still not that many, maybe 100 if at the most, 20 or 30 co-workers. And most jobs are not customer-facing jobs. When you work retail, the pay isn't great, but you get the benefit of interacting with the customer. You get the negative. It can be a negative and a positive to interact with the customer, the public, and it can help you not feel lonely, and you can help you socialize a bit, have human interactions, which is always good, usually good. But as you move on for those retail jobs, some of you, and you want to go work at an office, or you want to go work at a factory or somewhere or anywhere or online or wherever, besides meetings and your co-workers, you're just basically isolated from when you go to work to when you get home every day, and that can last for years. You see the same old people at work, which is nothing wrong, but then it feels like a trap, So the normal social places that they have in Europe and Asia and these other parts of the world, they just don't exist much in America. Most of the social places that you go to, it's usually shopping related, like a mall, which they're diminishing, because of online sales. And the chances of you running into someone, unless you live in a small town, is not that high. Because when you're going to the mall, which is a good social place, but you're going there, you're not always going there to buy necessities. So when people go there, it can be rare for them to go to the mall, or rare for them to go to these places, There's so many box stores in so many different locations, you're not going to you usually will not run into your friends and family or a stranger you would like to socialize with. You usually will not run into them just by going about your daily life. You usually have to go out of your way, and even when you do, is limited. Because everything is scattered. Everything is scattered and not in one place. Everything is scattered apart, basically. So even if you want to go to a social space somewhere, you probably won't see anybody there. Probably not. And that just adds to the loneliness and all this stuff. Socializing is a very big part of community and a part of life, so you're not lonely. We're not machines, we're not just made to go, like, have no friends. It's not a badge of honor to have no friends. Like, if you don't have friends, you should try to get some and make an effort and, try that. Because, like, I don't know anybody who has no friends and they're completely happy. They're basically venting on YouTube comments. I'm like, okay, well, if that's not a problem, why do you have to vent about it? You would just be living in peace. So, one thing I learned being in Europe is that the malls have grocery stores built into them. So when you buy your necessities and all that, you have to go there. And you can bump into, if you're a local, you can bump into people that you know and all that. There's children, there's elderly that are taking public transit, buses. You don't need a car, you can take it to the mall and get your grocery shopping done and all that. And there's also the normal mall kind of stores there too. So by doing that, by having all that together, obviously it's good for business, but it's good for socialization too. You can run into, someone you know and love and friends, family, and, all that kind of stuff. So, it's like a town center, right? That's almost become a myth, like when you hear about town centers and town squares, like if you watch like Gang of New York or like one of those like movies from like the 1900s or in England or somewhere, they can just go walk from their house to like the town center and just gather up. You cannot do that in these big cities in America. You can't do that. It's too far. You can't, so like we're missing these town centers because the city is geographically too far apart, and these town centers just aren't being built. We just have big box stores and parking lots. And I'm glad I'm not the only one or the first person to be talking about this online. Like Flurf Design has a channel about social spaces, and then there's another channel, I forgot the name, but it's about social spaces as well. And it goes more deeper into it. But the infrastructure is built by design not to have social spaces. It's car-centric, and you're basically isolated. You're just in a box. You're in a box when you're at home. You're in a box when you're in your car going to work. You're in a box when you're in your office or at the store where you're working. And you drive your box back home. Your car, your box on 4 wheels, and then you go back into your box, which is your apartment or your home, and you go to sleep and you wake up and you repeat. You're basically living in a box 24/7. And it's depressing. Now, for some people, this affects some people less than others. Some people are like magnets. People are drawn to them for whatever reason, and they don't feel the effects of this that much because people flock to them, But for some people, the communication is sporadic, and you need social spaces to just kind of meet people outside your bubble, meet people outside of your box, meet people outside of your social group and all that. That way you don't need to rely on online, you don't have to rely on friends and family and all that kind of stuff. Even if you go to Japan, they have better social spaces than America, even though that's considered an introvert country. So social spaces are super important, and it's slept on, and nobody talks about it. Most social spaces here require you having to pay for a drink or it's like the mall where you're supposed to buy stuff. You don't have to buy stuff, but that, and it's not even a good social space. The mall's not even a good social space anymore. People don't even go to it that much. So you're isolated. You're literally isolated in your house. And I've seen the videos like on the other channels, and they're right. They're saying like people are trying to build up their houses into something that's so good because they're coping with they want to make it so good that way they don't miss what's on the outside. They have it on the inside, and all that. They have all the amenities. They have like a bigger space. They have all this kind of stuff, but but it can be just for coping for some people instead of having these social spaces. Literally, like from where I'm from in America, there's literally no social space. And, even if there is one, nobody's there. So what's the point? You can go to a park and it's deserted. It could just be only you and like another family at the park. That's it. In a big old park. And that's it. You're like, what? But it can be better if you're in like busy places like San Francisco, New York, or whatever, but that's not all over the country, So I think it needs to be brought out to the light that the social spaces need to be created, and they should be not car dependent. The car shouldn't have much access to them. It should require, or if the parking's there, it should just be like a garage that doesn't take up too much space, and then, so that way it doesn't impede on people in the social space or whatever. So it's super, super important, and I think people need to be talking about it and encouraging the growth of those places. Because I think if people talk to each other and really get to know each other and just have encounters with each other and see each other, the world will be just less depressing place. That's why a lot of people from Latin America, from other parts of the world, they're like, man, yeah, I make more money here, but I miss it back in my home country. Like, we can just go into the streets and just, talk and know, like I have all these neighbors and stuff that I know and love and all this stuff. You're like, that's hard to imagine, right? That you know all your neighbors, like in America or whatever. Like, people just go inside, shut the door. They might see each other when they're mowing the grass. That's about it, Or they just may say hi and bye. And they may get to know a couple of neighbors, but like, that's what people miss in other countries, like, or parts of the world, all in Latin America, for example, and stuff. People knew their neighbors. We're commanded to love your neighbor, like, we can't love our neighbor if we're isolated from our neighbors. Neighbors are everywhere, whether they live next to you or they're in your street, they're your neighbor. So this is just, humanly advice. This isn't like advice that's, good as God's advice, and so I don't ever pretend to like, think I know it all or anything. So just, you can even take it with a grain of salt. But we definitely need more social spaces. It's only going to help. That's the reason why people love college. They didn't miss the studying, but they like the socializing. There were social spaces. You can run into people and all that kind of stuff. And it was right when you're living in college, there's no cars getting in the way that might run you over. You can just walk all over campus and like, you may see people and socialize, hang out, all kind of stuff like that. We need those back. We need those, social spaces like that. But just for the whole general public in America, in every city. If the city's big, it can have, a number of those spaces all over. It doesn't have to be only one, but at least have some hot spots, But it also should be where people don't have to go out of their way and drive to it, just to socialize. It should be part of the commute. When you go from here to there, it's right there, right next to it, When you go to buy the groceries, the social space should be right next to it, That way people can talk to each other and encounter each other more. I think it'll improve what people think of each other and the negativity and all that. It will help shine a light on it and remove prejudices and stuff like that. The more you interact with other people, the more you see the real world and not what's shown to you on your screen. Because it's not always the same. Most of the time it's not. Don't believe me? Go travel and go see for yourself. It's better than what you see on TV. TV, they usually show you the locales. They may show you like a scenery, but they don't show you, the human side, the human interactions, and, the vibe, right? The vibe, So, I think everybody needs to start demanding more social spaces in America, because America has the capital, it has the money and all that stuff to build these things. Like it's not that big of a deal. And, or at least when they're creating more towns moving forward, to create that with that, create a town in America that looks like Amsterdam, from the infrastructure. Create that, people will start moving there so bad. We have the people in America, the people are already here. It's just that people are cooped up in their homes and stuff, they're cooped up in their homes, nothing to do, watching Netflix. Like, wouldn't it be better just to be outside in a social space that's free, and you can just be walking your dog, or on your way to buy some light necessities, food and stuff, or you just buy a cup of coffee and you're just hanging out. Like the weather's good enough in most parts of America. It's sunny enough in most parts. We need to create those spaces, and when the new towns pop up, you're making these new towns or suburbs, you need to make it where it's like social space centric, to where it's there's a big chunk of land that's like there, and it's there's like stores like surrounding it that people need, and yet you can go through and socialize, hang out, and all that kind of stuff. That's what people miss when they leave their home countries and they try to come to America, or they visit America, and they see the difference. So, excuse me. But yes, so that's the end of this video. We need more social spaces. This probably won't be the last video. Thanks for listening, and please be aware of that. That way, when you find yourself being lonely and stuff, it's not you. That's the point of this video. It's not you. Like, when you're feeling lonely, you're feeling the symptom. But you may not be the root of the problem. You may not be the root of your loneliness problem. If you have a bad attitude, yeah, maybe. But most people, they don't have a bad attitude. They're just trying to make it in life. So, when you feel lonely or depressed, you might not even be the root of your own problem. It could be the infrastructure. It could be, again, the social space is part of the environment. It's the environment. It could be breeding that kind of thing just by design, and you're going through it. You're like a mouse going through the maze, and someone designed it one way or they designed it another, and you're being affected by it, but you don't even know anything different, because that's all you know. That's all you've ever been, So, like, be aware it may not be your fault, and you need to go somewhere. If you're feeling depressed, you need to go somewhere else where it's different. It is different in other places, and you need to check that out. That way you have some perspective, and you get some solutions, because the social spaces, it helps with the loneliness and depression and all that kind of stuff, and you need solutions right now. Again, I won't be a big proponent of waiting too long for like solutions. So if you're feeling lonely and someone's telling you to like, just cope with it and stuff and just take it for a while longer, or like take it for like indefinitely, wait for like a whole nother year, like or whatever, like I don't agree with that at all. Because when people feel lonely and stuff, they need help right now. They need help right away, even if it helps them a little bit. So if you're feeling like down or something and you feel like you need to, get in touch with people and stuff and just socialize, definitely you need to get out of your zone, get out of your city. Be aware, is your city causing that? And then you may have to leave it and go somewhere else. The Bible says if one city persecutes you, go to another city. So I don't want to get too drawn out, but thanks for listening and I hope this helps.